market got you down? Are you afraid? Are you nervous about buying a home? We're going to talk about that today. Hey guys, Kevin Blair with Element Home Loans, and I've got the
Wendy
one,
Stott,
Lee,
Keller Williams.
Wendy Stott. So let's start here.
Okay.
How long have you been in the business?
I'm going on 22 years.
22
years in the business, yes.
Okay.
It'll be 22 in March.
22 in March. I started
Yes.
my 25th in January this year.
Okay, you're older than me.
So, well, I'm older than you anyway. It's 25, 20, almost 50 years of experience sitting right here in front of you. We've been through something like this before.
We have.
We have. And
We've actually been through worse.
we actually have.
We have.
Here's the difference, though, and I don't mind talking about this because we need facts. The whole reason I started the podcast is number one, I want to expose the games in the business. I also want to talk about facts. I want to talk about what it really means. 2008, when we saw our first bill, our lifetime, okay, we called a crash. It was extreme.
It was extreme. And it hit really fast.
It was unbelievable. There were
Hit
companies
really
every day going out of business. We would have clear to closes, all of a sudden more conditions and the overlays. It was an incredible time. The difference here, though, Wendy, is this time we're in 30 months now. We're in 30 months of a slowdown.
Yes.
Okay. I think, this is my opinion, I think we have been under some sticker shock. Okay.
We have been in some sticker shock with prices.
Right. And rates.
And rates.
And that's real. I mean, it is real.
It is real and it happened. However, was it normal?
Normal. Now, was what normal before you?
Okay.
Be specific.
Were rates normal when people were out there getting financed on homes at 2.5%?
No. Not only was it not normal, but we could not continue that trend. Would be worse.
Exactly.
The economy would be in worse situation than it is now.
Would you invest in something at 2.5%?
No.
Okay.
No. But you just said something. Okay. You said an investment.
Right.
Okay. So you're coming at it from a position of buying a home as an investment.
Buying a home is an investment, but we all also know that there's investors that buy the loans on the homes. Yes.
Okay. As always, I don't come with questions. I don't come with the script. I want it real. I want it organic. So what you just brought up, let's talk about the secondary market. Now, I'm not a secondary market expert. Okay. 5 years, I've only been on what we call the front lines as far as a loan officer, a loan originator. The secondary market is like our company. We are a mortgage lender. Okay. It's our money that we fund, but we also service about 60% of our business now. But then the rest of the business, we do sell off to big servicing companies.
That's right.
Okay. Believe it or not, right now, it's the servicing companies that are driving these, what they call loan level price adjustments, have changed our rates dramatically. There's so many factors that go into it, but this is one of them, and it's a very, very important one. Right now, it has been really hard and difficult to get really good pricing. And I'll tell you why.
Okay.
Know that there's, call it in our business, we are baking a refinance pie right now. Okay. We know that we're going to have a huge boom like we've never seen before when rates start coming down. If you look at the houses and the loans that we've closed the last 2 years that have been in the high 6s, 7s, and some 8s, we know that these people are going to refinance. So what's happened on these servicers, they know that these are short-term investments for them.
Right.
Okay. So what happens is they say, okay, we're going to make it difficult. For the first time in probably 20 years, we are having to charge discount points just to get the rates, period. It's been a big change in this industry. And it's a conversation last night. And this is a past client, Wendy, that I have dealt with. He's used us for his financing before, came back, he's selling his home. And he says, Kev, he says, your rate is too high. He said, and I'm not going to give anybody free advertising, but where he went, the guy told him on the phone when he got him on the phone that there's no discount points, but it's clearly in their marketing that there's discount points involved. So he wanted my rate with no discount point.
Okay.
And it doesn't work that way.
Right.
Because we're not comparing apples to apples. And we always say, well, we've got to get with somebody that we trust, okay? Whether it's the realtor.
They're going to tell you straight up.
Here's what I do know, okay? Because I know a lot of loan officers in Chattanooga. I know the good ones and I know the bad ones, all right? I'm not saying I'm the only person that's going to tell you the truth. But what I do know, if you're talking to me, I will tell you the truth. And I'm going to explain all of this to you. I had a conversation yesterday as well. The realtor partner, we closed the deal 2 weeks ago. She said she'd called me last week when she was leaving town for vacation. She calls me. She says, I want to talk to you next week about what transpired on this deal. I said, well, of course. So she calls yesterday and she says, all right, when we first started talking with our buyer, we were talking with no discount points. I said, exactly, because that's what he wanted, because he was going to, I said, remember how long he was going to be in the house? She said he was going to be at maximum 3 years.
Okay.
So it didn't make financial sense.
Right.
But then he changed his mind and they wanted to go to a 30-year to a 15-year, and they're going to be in this home for 10 plus years. So what happened during that transaction is we looked up the rates. We did a Zoom call right over there at my computer, and I showed him the margins, the true margins. I said, okay, you can pick any rate you want to. Does it make financial sense to buy the rate down? Well, he chose to buy the rate down because he knows, here's what Fannie Mae, not Kevin Blair, here's what Fannie Mae says, 42 months. If you can recoup the discount point within 42 months, then you need to do it.
Then you need to do it.
Do you know where that information came from? How they came up with that?
How did they come up with the 42
What's
months?
the average time that people stay in their homes?
7 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
5 to 7 years.
Yep.
So
okay.
to recoup that cost earlier on in your loan, then it makes sense. It makes financial sense.
Right.
But each individual buyer, Wendy, it's so important to sit down with somebody and say, okay, does it really make sense? Let's look at the numbers. And I'm going to make up a number right now. Let's say it's a $300,000 loan.
Okay.
Well, a discount point is $3,000.
That's right.
Well, depending on the market, we may be able to get you down a half a point, maybe get you down 3/4 of a point, sometimes just 1/4 of a point. You look at the payments on each one and how long is it going to take to recoup that cost?
That cost of the $3,000.
Right.
Right.
Now, that's not my decision.
No.
That's the borrower's decision.
Whether or not they can do that.
Exactly. It's even gotten even more complex now. In fact, we know this refi boom is coming, and so we're all getting ready for it. And our company's putting out all these different policies. And I'll tell you what our company policy is. Now, Fannie Mae, we have a new form in our loan operating software that we have to do a net tangible benefit to see if it really makes benefit for people, because there is a cost to refinance.
Right.
Those people that the last 2 years have had our pledge, we're paying for the appraisal and we are paying for the lender cost, but there's still another $3,000 to $4,000 worth of cost. Our company is saying, and 42, have you heard that number before? Our company is saying if they can't recoup that cost within 42 months, they can't do the loan. They won't let us because it's not a net tangible benefit to the buyer.
For the buyer.
Exactly. At the end of the day, and we talk about this all the time, at the end of the day, it's what's best for the consumer.
It's always got to be that.
The day it's not, we're in trouble.
That is. So I have a question.
I
did a client event, and the question came up is, when does it make sense to do the refinance? So if they were, let's say, on their loan currently that they bought, let's say 1.5 years, maybe even 2 years ago,
Okay.
they bought at like a 6.5% rate.
Okay.
Does it make sense to go ahead and refinance now? Is it like a 1% rule? What makes sense for you?
That's a very good question. And you've heard me say this for 20 years now, because we've been doing business for 20 years. Individual family and each individual loan is completely different.
Right.
Okay. So, you've got a $150,000 loan versus a $500,000 loan. A half a point makes a big difference on a $500,000 loan.
Right.
On 150, it doesn't.
It doesn't make as much difference.
Right. Okay.
Right.
So we look at an individual family, what they've got cash flow going out. So you look at it saying, okay, does it make financial sense? Can we recoup the cost? I've always said, if Larry, the owner of our company, called me today and says, Kevin, we're going to start paying you $400 extra a month just to do the same job you're doing, I'm taking it.
Well, yeah.
Okay. If he called me and said, I'm going to give you $150 a month, I'm going to take it. Right? Because it's free money.
It is. Well, there's no free money.
There's no free money. But at the end of the day, does the cost outweigh the savings?
Right.
Okay. So it's really an individual conversation. And to me, that's what I've always said. Let's sit down and do a mortgage review.
And fully pull the numbers.
I wish I could say her name, and I wish I could play you this voicemail I got the other day. There's a lady that we just closed 2 weeks ago. It's my third loan for her. I did her first mortgage when she bought, did her second mortgage, and then we just refinanced her. Okay. Now, this lady, we refinanced her before. We refinanced her second, and we just refinanced her again. The first time we did a cash out refinance. Okay.
Okay.
And what we did is we took the equity, because right now we're all sitting on more equity than we've ever had before.
There's so many people sitting on like a ton of equity right now.
The average is $296,000 in equity.
Yes.
Across the United States, $296,000.
There's a lot of equity out there.
Do you know what the average consumer debt is?
Tell me.
92. Not counting cars.
Not counting automobiles at all.
Right. $2,000. So what we did with this young lady, she had all this equity that had grown. We did a cash out and got her completely debt free and saved her like $1,200 a month. And
so now she only owns her mortgage.
And And guess what happened? 7 months later, rates dropped here a few weeks ago. Got her back on the phone. We refinanced her. She had the pledge, because I do the pledge for any loan I do.
Right.
It cost her minimum, and we saved her a full point.
Wow.
So
that's
now,
big.
So now it is even bigger. And what we did, Wendy, is we said, okay, you were spending that extra $1,200 a month. What if, and this is a conversation we're having, what if she took half of that and put that towards the mortgage?
Toward the principal.
Exactly. Every month.
Right. She would have her loan paid off in no time.
In 12 years.
I know.
In 12 years.
That's amazing.
It's that kind of conversation.
How many conversations do people really have with people like that? I mean, you've got to love on your people to educate them. And that's what is so big in the real estate industry, the mortgage industry. I think it's huge that people really understand the process and what's going to benefit their family.
Okay. So you met Jessie. Okay. Yes. Jessie is, now Jessie's a licensed loan officer. Okay. But she is on our team right now until she transitions to a full loan officer. So every Wednesday, she makes 100 calls to our database. Okay. I call it my past families. And you know what she's saying? Hey, if you have any questions about your mortgage, if you have any questions, Kevin wanted me to call to check on you, see how you're doing, and she sets me up 2 or 3 appointments a week. Okay.
That's fantastic.
To have these types of conversations. All my families get postcards every month. Okay. So we're constantly staying in front of our families because things change, Wendy.
Well, their lives change, their situations change. You may be able to use that equity to say that you have an elderly person that you've got to now care for, or you've now got a son that's going to college or whatever. If they were educated on what they can do with that equity to benefit their family, it makes such a huge difference in their world. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I just talked to a client that bought a condo. He had 2 children. I was from Nashville, and both of his children were going to UTC. So he got him a condo down in Palmetto. And I mean, with the equity he's got in that right now, we had the conversation. Okay, does it make sense?
He was going to be paying tuition and board.
Exactly. Okay. Well, the kids have graduated now, so he's sitting on this investment property. It makes sense with what the property will bring right now for you to maybe sell it Or does it make more sense to keep it as a
Income.
investment
Mhm.
because of where it's located? And then at that point, you could,
Somebody else is paying for your home.
that's right.
Holy smokes.
I don't usually try to talk people out of selling their properties if they want to sell them, but if it doesn't make sense and he could keep that, and I told him, I said, I'll run you some numbers, but I'm going to check back. You go ahead and run that as something that's available to rent. By the time I get your numbers back to you, I guarantee it's rented. Said it's rented.
So here's
So-
why that we have been highly successful, good times and bad times, because we're talking to people as if we were doing it ourselves.
It's in their
Okay.
best interest.
It's in their best interest.
Has to be.
And I guarantee you, it's going to probably get other college students, okay, perhaps to rent that.
Right.
Going to have somebody else paying for that mortgage, and he's gaining wealth.
He is gaining wealth.
So I want to tell you the number one response I get, and then I've got a question for you.
Okay.
They say, well, Kevin,
I hope I have an answer.
Well, we'll see. Kevin, I have a 3% rate. Okay. I don't want to get rid of that 3% rate. I get it. Okay. But as you said, life happens.
Life does happen.
Okay. We've had a lot of successes. We've gained all this equity, but a lot of people have spent a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I had a good friend tell me, in fact, he's still a very, very good friend. We started in the mortgage business 2 days apart. Okay. He moved here from California, and I'm talking early 2000s. He moved here from California, made like $750,000 on his house, moved to Georgia, paid cash for a house, and we both got in the loan business. We were both there at 6:00 every morning because we didn't know what else to do. Let's just show up and go to work.
Right.
Okay. So we're going to work on this, and he's the one that termed this, but I'm using it all the time. He said people may have a 3% rate in their front yard, but they may have a 27% rate in their backyard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Meaning their front yard looks really good. That way everybody sees it. We can go to a cocktail party. We can go to breakfast. We can go to a dinner. Yeah, I've got me a 3% rate, baby. But they're paying 27% in the backyard. The backyard's full of junk. Okay. But nobody sees it. Does this make sense to you?
Right.
So to have a true conversation about what's going on with your cash flow, okay? Because at the end of the day, it's about how much money you're putting out on a monthly basis. And if we can save you money, just like this lady that I talked to this week, if we can save them big money, then why not take that money and reinvest it into your home? And then your cost of money over time is nothing.
Right.
And it will beat that 3% rate.
Because we get older, so you've got to think about your.
I don't.
You got to think about your future, and where your cash flow is going.
That's a whole different topic.
It is.
That's a whole different topic. Okay, so
Okay.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
Okay, because I'm on the financial side, you're on the excitement side.
It's exciting.
With people wanting to look at homes and people and I've always said I do not want to be a realtor. I would suck as a realtor. I don't have the patience as a realtor. We work almost as much as a realtor, because all of my partners that I know that I'm very tight with, like Wendy, going 7 days a week, because that's the nature of the business that we chose. What do you think? What are people telling you that why they don't want to buy right now?
Before, I was hearing it's because of the fact that there was no inventory. Well, that's changed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're right around 3,060 something homes, where before we were scooting along for the longest around 1,500. Right now, I think they're waiting to see what is going to happen with the rates. They've heard tell that they may drop again in November. I think they're also waiting to see what's going to happen with this presidential election.
There's an election going on?
There is an election going on. I think a lot of that will turn in December.
You think?
I really do. I really do. People right now are worried. We've had a lot of economic changes. We've had a lot of natural disaster changes. I did for the ALC, I had the leadership moment this past Thursday. And I'm like, okay, when I walk around my office, I've heard agents saying, no buyers. then we went through, oh, the rates are so high. Then we went through, all the negative talk about the election, all the negative talk about the disasters. It was just a lot of like negative energy.
Mm-hmm.
But what you focus on expands, right?
If
So
I wasn't afraid to break my mic, I would drop it.
what we focus on expands. So, and what I was saying is you've got to keep going. You've got to keep educating people. You've got to keep talking to people because guess what? We're in the fourth quarter.
Mm-hmm.
What team, whether it's basketball, football, or whatever, what happens if you only play 3/4 of a game?
You lose.
You lose. So you've got to get the mindset right. You've got to keep pushing. You've got to keep educating your people, and you've got to keep training them of what's the best for them, like we've been talking.
What you just said is so strong about what we focus on expands.
What you do focus on expands.
That's strong.
And if you focus on nothing but negative energy, it's going to bring you down, and you're not going to be able to make clear decisions.
So I talked to 2 young gentlemen this week. Okay. He's only been a full-time realtor now for a year.
Okay.
For a year. Been a part-time for 4 years. The other one is just 4 years in the business. Between them both, their teams, and I think they've got 10 or 12 people on their team, they're going to close almost 200 transactions this year.
That's amazing.
That's amazing. Okay.
That's 200 families that they've made an impact on.
Absolutely. And those 200 families, their equity position is growing. Mm-hmm. And when the rates do come back down, then they'll get refinanced and they'll save even more money.
Exactly.
Okay. People ask me, is it still a good time to buy? I still think it's a good time to buy.
I think it's a good time to buy.
Because you used the word earlier, investment. Okay. Because it is truly an investment. It's only been 7 times in the last 70 years that the housing market went down. 7 times. One of the times was made. Okay. There was a lot of mistakes going on. Okay. But the other times, and we're not in those times right now. We are not in the time where the prices are going to bottom out because the inventory, because there's so many people. How many kids graduate from college every year? I don't know. I should know that.
I don't know either.
I know it's more than 100.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Of course. Okay. No, I'm still excited about what we do. I still think it's still a great time. I think it's still a great investment.
I think it's a strong market right now. I mean, to be honest with you, we just spent a little bit of time, a year or so ago, when you're out there and you're looking for properties, right? By the time you actually get to the property, there's probably a parking lot there.
Right.
And you've got such a short period of time to make a huge financial decision for your family, or you're just out.
And now you have options.
Well, now instead of you either sleep on it or sleep in it, you can actually weigh out and say, okay, is this a good time to invest in this property? Maybe there is something else. Maybe you invest in this property and then you've got a chance to use some of the equity and then invest into another property to build your portfolio. I mean, there's just so many different options right now that you've got to really sit down and like we said, be educated on what is going to be you pick option A, B, or C.
Okay.
So you've got time to actually go through your finances and figure out what that looks like.
So where it all starts is what I've always said. It starts with a conversation. Mm-hmm. You got to have a real conversation with your lender. You got to have a real conversation with your realtor partner. And between the two of those people, okay, and it should be these two, okay, just saying. It is my podcast, so I can say that, right?
You can say whatever you want. Okay. It's your podcast.
But you've got to have a truthful, honest assessment of your financial picture and with your realtor what you're truly looking for. And between those 3 people, you and those 2 people, we can come up with a plan that works for you. We are seeing more and more sellers now pay closing costs.
Yes, I actually got my buyers $12,000 in closing costs paid. The fact that, we got repairs of things that you didn't ask for a couple of years ago. You took it as is. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, they even changed the Tennessee state contract where you had that one little box you could check and say, I'm doing an inspection for my knowledge only. I will ask for nothing. but we got repairs and $12,000 in closing costs.
Okay. So now what we do with that as a lender and as a realtor and as the customer, we say, okay, how do we want to allocate that 12,000? Okay.
Right.
Because on a typical $250,000 to $300,000 loan, you can actually use about 5,500 of that, 6,000 maybe, for a 2-1 buy down.
Exactly.
Okay. And then we're talking about really saving you some money. And we don't have a whole lot of time to go into what a 2-1 buy down really represents for you. But here's something that you need to think
We can
about.
do that on another podcast.
I know. Okay. But can I give some highlights?
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
I have to ask permission. With that 2-1 buy down, and let's say it's $6,000. Okay. So your first year, that rate is 2% lower. Okay. So what happens if the rates do come down, like they're talking about second quarter?
Right.
What happens then? You've only made 6 or 7 payments. Well, that $6,000 is put into an escrow account because it's used to offset those payments.
Right.
It's their money. Okay. It's not thrown away money.
No.
When we refinance them, let's say there's $4,000 left, they can go to a principal reduction or they can go towards their cost for the refinance.
So they've got choices.
They've got choices.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about having a real conversation.
And I guarantee you, a lot of people don't know that they could take that money and add that toward their principal. So let's say their payment is $650, small numbers. Okay, let's say it's $1,650.
So
$1,650. Okay, let's say it's $1,650. Let's say it was a $200,000 house, whatever.
Okay.
You know, and where was I going with this? Because I'm old. I lost train of thought. I know. So anyway, they could take, $4,000. That's $1,650 a month. That's 4 payments,
right,
toward their principal,
right,
if they wanted to do that.
Absolutely.
Well, if you only make one extra payment toward principal a year,
that's 7 years off.
That's 7 years off. So think about how much you could cut off of the life of your loan.
I'm telling you, there's more to this than just a 30-year fixed or a 15-year fixed. Programs, I never pigeonhole anybody into a program. It's about what's best for them. So let's wrap it up this way.
Okay.
Number one, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
We typically don't go this long. However, this was such strong information. If somebody's out there in the Chattanooga market, North Georgia market, and want to find you, what's the best way to find you?
Well, the best way is this little cell phone sitting beside me, and that number is 423-718-1350. I would love to have a conversation with you just about the market. What is the market telling us? Where has it been? Where do we think that it's going? Because we do get educated. I'm with Keller Williams, so I'm with the best of the best, Gary Keller, who educates his agents, and he's a pretty smart guy. So he has pretty much been dead on as far as predictions from the market in the past. Yes, 423-718-1350.
Fantastic. Again, I'm Kevin Blair with the Kevin Blair team at Element Home Loans. I'm going to do something different today. My cell number is 423-488-8465. The only time I don't answer it, she takes it away from me when we go to church because she knows if you call me, I'll answer. If you text me, I'll answer. So she puts it in her purse where I can't get to the phone.
Well, good for Sherry.
And Mama Bear.
That's right.
She does that. Guys, if you like this kind of information, hit like, hit subscribe. Seriously, reach out to us. It's not about pressure. It's about information. It's about correct information, and it's about advisement. You heard her say she tried to talk one of her sellers out of selling that investment property that he had. At the end of the day, it's about what's best for you.
Yes.
Lady, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin.
Y'all have a great day.
See ya.